Oh, good, man. Hello. There it is. It's working now. Yeah. See? Yep. See the green? It's actually a little bit too loud, probably. Could probably turn it down a little bit. Test. All right. All right. Hey. Okay. Still too loud. Shit. Test. Test. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. Get started then. Okay. Hey, everybody. If you want to make your way to a seat, I'd be very happy. We're going to get started in about 2 seconds. And you're late. God, there's just too many people here chatting. Hey, Brandon, can you herd them in? You want to do that? You should do that. Thank you, Brandon. So live stream looks good. How many questions have we gotten from Trey so far? Trey, behind you. He's the main presentation. Yeah, has Trey posted any questions in the live chat? Hey everybody, thank you for coming. Good to see everyone. Good to see you, Ed. Watch out, there's trip cables everywhere.
Hey, can I get a whole bunch of these books, the Bitcoin for kids? I just get 1 minute after the sponsors. Just kind of
I'll give you 20 seconds. 20 seconds. God. All right, guys, are y'all ready for all the fun? All right, cool. There's we have plenty of people that help support this event. I'm gonna go over our sponsors really fast. All right, so first, I'm kind of curious, who's been here? If this is your first time, can you just raise your hand? So we kind of, okay, cool. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming. I would ask if you could, and this is a big commitment, if you could get up and try to fill in this, area closer to me, so we can all be a nice big blockchain family. That would mean a lot to me. So one thing that I stole from New York BitDevs is they try to involve a lot of people that come to the meetup, no matter how big they are. So one of the meetups that I went to in New York was about 120 people, and everyone got 3 seconds on the mic just to say their name and what they do. And it's really, really cool because then you can follow up with them afterwards, after the presentations and stuff. So before we get started, I actually just want to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to start, and if you want to shield your phone, this would be the time. If that's okay. Yeah, so I'm going to start the mic right here, and then just pass it, and let's just hit everyone, and then just take about 2 or 3 seconds who you are. And if you don't want to share anything, just pass the mic. There's no mandatory obligation to do this.
Hi, my name is Brandon Roulette. I actually one of the Tab Conf or the Tab Meetup leaders, and I've been coming to the Atlanta Blockchain Meetups for about 2 years now. Also work for BitPay, and so we have a booth back there. You come check us out.
Do not take that long if it's your turn. He took way too long. 3 seconds, 4 seconds max.
I'll do this after.
You can just do it in, and I'll yell it at you too. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Ed. I'm a hodler, and at the Magical Crypto Conference, the Bitcoin rabbi was there. He's written this book for kids called Bitcoin Money. I bought 30 copies of it. If you want to get one, I've got a whole bunch I got at wholesale. I read it to my kids, and they get it. This is part of spreading the word. So if you want to buy one from me, they're $8, and I just want to help this guy spread this book around. But the kids get it.
What's up? I'm Colin Enstead. I'm a video content creator for Bitcoin stuff. So.
Hey, I'm Trey from Sparkswap. You'll hear about me in a second.
Hi, my name is Miguel Vanegas.
Quinn Gibson, Mid-Earth Crypto.
I'm Mitch. I work here at the Tech Village at Rigger.
Hi, I'm John. I'm from Michigan, representing the blockchain in Michigan, a club by students for students.
All right. Fred Wetzel. I'm with 7 Factor Software, and we build enterprise-grade cloud-native applications.
Hi, I'm Mel Dodd. Hi, I'm Peter Ream, Bitcoin enthusiast.
Bob Gillen, Supply Chain Innovation.
Hey guys, I'm Abay, this is John, and that's Srikar. We're here doing some research on investment on behalf of Georgia Tech. So we'll probably come find some of you guys and talk to you and ask you some questions. Thanks for your time.
I'm Curtis. I lead a basketball analytics platform.
Eric Piscini, CEO, Citizens Reserve. We do supply chain software on blockchain.
Alex Tafe. We're the first barbershop in the world, I think, to accept Bitcoins. So happy to collect yours as well. If you have hair, men, come on in.
Hey, this is Vamshi from BearTax. We help with tax problems for people trading crypto.
Hi, I'm Callista Shank. I work at Emory and have a huge interest in blockchain.
I'm Jesse Elison. I'm an attorney that does transportation law, so here to learn a little bit about what might affect my work in the future.
I'm Ben Minner. I'm an attorney with Jesse's firm, Fox Rothschild, corporate litigation, government work, pretty much everything.
I'm Andrew Choi. I'm a blockchain developer.
Court Robertson. I work with the elderly to bring all kinds of technology to better their lives in homes or assisted living, and blockchain is certainly part of it.
Hi, I'm Evan Reed. I'm a law student from Virginia.
Hello, I'm Yuri, and I'll be doing a quick intro in just a minute.
Hey, this is Prady. I'm co-founder of BearTax, cryptocurrency tax assistant.
So, oh, got back to you. Okay, we're nice.
I'm Brian. I am a blockchain developer.
For the people in the back, if you want to come up here, there's plenty of seats if you want to share. Well.
Scott Holben, and I'm developing a way for cryptographic, will estates, to get them distributed trustlessly.
Hi, I'm Roy. I'm working on a beverage startup, and right now I want to learn how I can integrate the blockchain with the beverage industry. So that's what I mean.
I'm Emmy Luck, and I work for the Southeast Energy Efficiency Alliance, and I'm spearheading our research into blockchain and energy.
I'm Kyler, and I work at a financial consulting startup downtown.
I'm Selena Taylor. I'm a songwriter, and I'm trying to figure out how blockchain and royalties can work together.
I'm Tashelle Turknat. I'm an MBA student at the Robinson College of Business for FinTech.
I'm Flavio. I'm a network engineer at PayPal, and I'm just interested in Bitcoin in general.
What's going on? I'm Christian Sultan. I'm an aerospace engineer. Split my time between that and product management and looking for ways to use blockchain in the aerospace industry.
I'm Joey. I'm a theater, dancer, music theater guy, but my son is 14-year-old, and he is a Bitcoin miner and botter and holder and
Bitcoin miner?
Investor and whatever. You can tell how much I know about what he does.
Mike Casey, blockchain enthusiast.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I wanted this whole time.
Joshua, full-time founder, upstairs.
Brandon, product manager at Storage.
I'm Andy. I'm a product manager at Storage Labs as well.
Randy, product manager at U42.
Did y'all want to give a quick? You want to shill yourself real quick? This is your shill time.
I'm Linda Getz, and I'm president and CEO of the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce. And this is Kyle from Provide.
That was awesome. Yeah, I'm Kyle Thomas, founder of Provide. It's a platform that makes blockchain development easier for any developer.
Okay. Anyone who came in late, did you want to get the mic just to say like your name and who you would like to network with after this? Anyone? Hey. I'm gonna. All right. So this is like YouTube ads now. I'm gonna go through. You can't skip these though. I'll promise to be really quick. So these are the people that make this possible. Help, bring speakers in, help pay for food, help pay for alcohol, everything. So real quick, hide.me, VPN service. You don't have to use a credit card. You can use cryptocurrency. If you go on to the Meetup page, there's a 35% off discount. They have servers all around the world. This is what I've been using for about 3 years now. It's my favorite VPN service. Hide.me is the URL. PKM is one of our legal sponsors. Check them out if you're seeking legal advice. Tyrion, it's a they're tackling the proof of existence and time-stamping use case of Bitcoin and blockchain. So you can prove when data existed at what point in time. So that might help with royalties. I don't know. So there is Bear Tax here? Oh, can you come up? All right, we'll do you last, but come up here. Yeah, queue up with me. All right, Bitcoin Depot. Bitcoin Depot. They have ATMs literally all around Atlanta. I think they have one of the most. They have the biggest footprint I think out of any U.S. ATM Yeah, they have hundreds of ATMs. If you go to I think it's Coin ATM Radar, or if you Google like Bitcoin ATMs, you'll find a site that has like a map that shows you all their ATMs. And they have quite a few. You can typically, why you'd want to use an ATM over exchange online, you can get cryptocurrency a lot faster. You might pay a slightly higher markup, but that's just a little bit, right? But in terms of, hey, if the price of Bitcoin jumps 100% in a month, it might be worth it to get it quick. So, Gino's Barber. I got my hair cut by a person named Fly Girl. So her name was actually Fly Girl. And she cut my hair, make me Fly Boy. If you want your hair cut like this, or like how Alex has his haircut, you can go to Gino's, and they accept Bitcoin. They'll give you 10% off when you get your haircut. Do you cut women's hair or just men's hair? If you want a haircut like this, like I said, you can come to Gino's. Protecting Coin. Is Chris here? Chris, are we doing a raffle? Okay, how do you know how you're doing it? Okay, cool. So everyone got a ticket? All right, cool. If you didn't get a ticket, too bad. And then Founders Legal. Founders Legal is actually going to give us a legal minute, a legal moment. It's maybe a little bit longer than a minute. We'll have Founders Legal go after this. But I do want to announce a sponsor that is new for us. We're introducing a new sponsor called Bear Tax. So I don't know if they're bearish or bullish, but maybe we can ask them. But I think this is really cool because if you do decide to buy cryptocurrency, hey, we have a local tax professional right here, and they're also sponsoring the event. So I'm going to hand off the mic and no. ATV, thank you so much. Can we get a round of applause for ATV? Just real quick. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then thank you, Skip, for holding it down. He's not even paying attention. All right. Here, I want to give you the floor. You can take a minute or so. Yeah, come up here. Talk about.
Sure. To clarify, we are bearish on taxes, so not on the price of the Bitcoin. So yeah, you might have dealt with taxes this tax season, or you might have filed an extension. So we are helping investors, traders, and CPAs to deal with the taxes while trading cryptocurrency. So you might have seen like how hard it's to get the price on a certain date, and if you convert from crypto to crypto, it's hard to break it down to fiat currency and get the gains or losses. So we built a system which can help you breeze through this. So you just import from exchanges via APIs of file upload, and then get your calculations done and download your IRS form 8949, or you can directly download a CSV that integrates with TurboTax. So it can all be done in like few minutes. So yeah, go check it out, and definitely it makes your life easy next time. And we are happy to sponsor TAB.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for our new sponsor, please. Yeah. And so definitely, if you know anyone needing tax advice, we have them right here, Bear Tax. So thank you. And I like how you said we're bearish on taxes. I like that. Yeah. All right. So let's get going. So does anyone know what happened today 9 years ago? Pizza Day. All right. So who is pretty much new to this whole crap, all this blockchain, Bitcoin stuff? All right. So the first transaction that ever happened, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 10,000 Bitcoin for I think 2 Papa John pizzas. All right. So today we had quite more than two Papa John's pizzas, but the idea is we want to get Papa John's today in celebration of that. Thank you, BitPay, for supplying the pizza today. Thank you. Yeah. And there's actually a quick video that we want to play. Let's see if this works. I wonder who's going to be on it, right?
All right, we're here in front of a notable pizza establishment. We're here for one reason and one reason only. That's to celebrate Bitcoin Pizza Day. It's to celebrate a man who spent $10,000 in 2010 on a pizza, which is worth about $80 million in today's with today's exchange rate. So we're teaming up with the Atlanta blockchain. We're sponsoring the pizzas for their meetup group. It's one of the BlockPay app. I'm going to scroll down here where it says shop gift cards, buy gift cards, meetup groups here in Atlanta. So we're trying to support our local blockchain enthusiasts. And we want to show you how you can buy virtually anything in our app with all of the gift cards we have. But today we're going to turn some of this Bitcoin into a gift card redeemable at a pizza place. So let me show you how it works, and here you go. All right. So as you can see, we're going to pull up the BitPay app. I'm going to scroll down here where it says shop gift cards, buy gift cards, shop now. I'm going to go to a gift card that I think, maybe I can buy some pizza with. I'm going to go ahead and put, let's say, $200 on here. We got a lot of hungry folks. And choose which wallet I need to buy from. Slide to pay. Wait till the transaction broadcasts. And there we go. Just bought a gift card. Now I'm going to go redeem it for some pizza. All right, so here I am. I'm going to go ahead and use my coupon to buy my pizza. So we got our pizzas. The gift card worked perfectly. We turned our crypto into spendable gift cards for pizza. Oh, there's some hungry people.
All right, cool. Thank you. Were y'all able to hear that? Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's a funny story. So Tab, I think Tab takes credit with the Miami group for making the first Bitcoin Cash pizza purchase. And the funny part about that one is we spent Bitcoin to then get manually transferred with the Bitcoin Cash, almost like how they use dollars and then manually the Bitcoin. So we used, anyways. And then the Lightning Network was done at TabConf in February. Yeah. So we're a pizza. This is a pizza city. Pizza City, all right? Papa John's was also founded here, right? I don't know. I'm just kidding. All right, I don't know if I can take credit for that one. I have no idea. It sounded good. All right, so there is a raffle. We'll do Protecting Coin at the very end. If when you leave, if you also want to buy some merchandise, Chris is the guy. People still seem to not know that the Bitcoin Embassy is closed. I don't think we did a good job telling people. But please don't go to that WeWork. You won't find an embassy there anymore. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. I want to let you know, so we kind of have 3 levels of technical, meetups. All right, we have these really technical book reading clubs, all right, where we're going over stuff like mastering Ethereum, mastering Bitcoin, and programming Bitcoin. We also have these meetups, which are kind of mid-tier technical. We will get into the weeds a little bit, but we try to keep it, applicable for everyone to kind of follow. And then we have really, high-level meetups that we're going to start once a month. So let me just go through. So we have a mastering Ethereum. That's going to be, the date's wrong, but check meetup on that. That's going to be, I think, next Tuesday. We have Programming Bitcoin Part 2. So if you missed the first Part 1, we actually had a good turnout for the 17 people. This is a coding class. So if you like coding and you actually want to know how Bitcoin works, come to this class. And even if you aren't technical and you just want to jump in, we are happy to help. So we're going to start Part 2 of Part 1. Part 1 was just kind of giving an overview, so you haven't missed anything yet if you want to attend. There's also a really cool meetup called Bitcoin Atlanta. So we're not the only meetup group. There are other ones. So make sure to check out Bitcoin Atlanta. That's one of my favorite ones to go to. They usually have ribs for food, so I like that. Is Rich here? I don't think. No. Okay. And then there's a Blockchain Chamber of Commerce event happening on May 23rd, ecosystem beta launch. So if you want to check that out, that starts at 6 o'clock. And this is just another blockchain meetup group. So there are several in the Atlanta area. And then this is the 101, and that's kind of a joint effort between Alex, myself, and Rich with Bitcoin Atlanta. And we're starting a 101. We want to do it once a month. This is just going to be kind of just going over the same material once a month and just kind of going over high-level stuff for the people who really are just new to the space. If you want to keep connected, so I like to think that we're all like a big family here, right? We're all trying to learn this stuff after hours, random times. You might think of something and want to bounce some ideas off people. This is how we all communicate. We use this group uses Telegram, so we have a couple different channels. Atlanta Blockchain. If you don't know what Telegram is, it's yet another messaging app that you just have to download because everyone's using it now. So sorry. So Atlanta Blockchain is our main, landing Telegram page. We have Tab Dev, which is mainly focused with remote people that want to join in with some of the technical workshops and stuff. And Tab Shill, which is this is for everything else, just like random Game of Thrones type stuff, like whatever you want to talk about. We're also on Twitter, so if you want to go to Twitter right now and retweet is the live link? I guess it'd be the same, right? Yeah. So if you want to go to our Twitter and retweet our tweet right now, it'll get more exposure. We do have an online audience right now. And maybe we can have someone check the YouTube chat for questions if Trey gets one later. And then obviously, who here came through Eventbrite? Anyone? Very cool. A couple. Our main page that we host our events on is meetup.com. So if you want to go to meetup.com/The Atlanta Blockchain, or if you just Google The Atlanta Blockchain, you'll find the meetup.com page. That's where all of our events are located. That's like our master truth. That's our blockchain, All right. After this, we go to Twin Peaks. So around 8 o'clock, we're going to stop here and go to the second floor of Twin Peaks. We have the whole level reserved just for us, just for networking. So if you want to go over there, grab a beer, grab some food. Life hack, if you know at the end of these meetups that you're going to go to Twin Peaks, just park over at Twin Peaks and then you get food and then you can get validated parking. So you don't have to park here. So I know probably several people do that. Okay, Colin has 65 seconds to go over this crazy thing that just happened the other day. And I think that it kind of skipped on some people's radar. Why don't you just quickly...
All right, so this is on Bitcoin Cash. So if you didn't know, they had a hard fork/upgrade day. I believe it was on Wednesday of last week. And essentially this was a bug that was found or exploited. It was unrelated to the actual fork, but it was from the fork 6 months before. But anyway, somebody kept it secret. And what they did was they essentially put in a lot of SIGOPs is what they're called. So a lot of like operations in a transaction. And they like loaded a bunch of transactions with it. Like what they were doing was, this isn't quite the transaction, but there was a bunch of inputs. So there's like literally 1,300 inputs and one output in a single transaction. And essentially, long story short, it got in the mempool. So it was like a pending transaction. So it loaded the mempool, but it didn't actually follow the consensus rules of the network. So it kind of like clogged the network for a little bit, I guess you could say, but until the bug was fixed, which was done within a couple hours. But yeah, essentially what happened is that this transaction, this is redeemed by somebody else, because essentially the way the transactions were crafted is that anybody could redeem them, like anybody could sign the transaction. And so one of the Bitcoin Cash developers actually like swept all of these transactions and made like $500 off of it. So that was kind of a quick, short, and dirty thing. I mean, so they were like mining blocks, but they were really slow. So it was like, right? There was no transactions in them. It was probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Yeah, but yeah, no transactions were lost or anything. It was just kind of like, basically the only people that were affected were people waiting on confirmations for like to deposit Bitcoin Cash into an exchange. So like nothing was really affected besides a slight inconvenience. Yeah, and there was a huge short on Bitfinex that coincided with it, but it could have been unrelated because, I mean, it was a fork day, so like people can bet that the fork would mess up the blockchain itself. But again, this was a bug that was from 6 months ago, But yeah, the short got wrecked shortly after because Bitcoin Cash went up like 10% in the next hour. So yeah.
Colin has a podcast now called "Calling It Like It Is," and if you are into Bitcoin Cash or Bcash as I call it, no, I'm just kidding. Then yeah, if you're into Bitcoin, you can check out his podcast too. He was covering this live, and I want to say it seemed like a lot longer than 2 hours. It seemed like 6 hours to me, but I was live for like 4.5 hours. But I think that okay. Anyways, I think the interesting thing is I know Bitcoin had like a little. They fixed it before anything happened, but there's a bug where invalid transactions could go into the blockchain, but not mempool. This was the opposite. It could go into mempool, but not into the blockchain. So they're pretty much just stuck there in mempool. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, appreciate it. All right, cool. So Yuri, let's cover what Craig Wright's been up to. I'm just kidding. Do it. Do you talk about whatever you want about?
There's a lot of new faces, so I'll introduce myself. There we go. My name is Yuri. I'm a patent attorney. Also co-founder on a few blockchain-related companies that did not succeed. One thing that I'm a co-founder of Founders Legal. We're an IP and corporate law firm, boutique upstairs, about 10 attorneys, small team. And we work in the blockchain space as well as other technology areas. So at Michael's request, thank you, Michael, we're going to talk a little bit about Craig Stephen Wright. Does that ring a bell for anybody? Craig Stephen Wright. He recently claimed and successfully registered 2 copyrights, one on the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper on Bitcoin, and 2 on the original Bitcoin code. And you can look those registrations up at copyright.gov. And so let's explore this a little bit. Someone alleging successfully in getting a copyright to essentially what we use today is Bitcoin. Does anyone know anything about this guy? Yeah, it was confirmed allegedly. Sorry? It was rejected.
The actual copyright office said that this isn't saying actually Satoshi. They just clarified it. The actual office.
This is recent news, so if you want to cover everything besides 2 hours ago.
Yeah, we'll cover everything besides 2 hours ago, up until 2 hours ago. So I do know that I actually looked through the registrations, and he alleged that the work was his authorship. Okay, so and I also looked him up a little bit. He's got a lawsuit against him in the United States, alleging that he's owns 1.1 million Bitcoins. So he might be a really wealthy guy. But let's talk a little bit about copyright law and how all of this is possible. Let me know if you don't hear me. Anyone can file for a copyright, anybody, and the Copyright Office doesn't do much to check or substantiate any copyright claims. Furthermore, you can backdate to the original work's authorship date. So you could have a work that's been out there for 10 years and apply for a copyright today. Why would you do that? We'll talk a little bit about that later in our limited legal moment. Well, if there, we'll save questions for the end, if I may.
If you have a question, wait till he's done. I'll give you a mic.
Thank you. You could backdate it. Okay, the point is, as soon as ink hits the paper, as soon as your work of authorship is created, you have copyright, potential copyrights you could register for that work. What did he exactly file for? The software and the white paper. And you could request copies of those. When you register software, typically you submit snippets of the software code You could request copies of those if you want. This was all recent, so I didn't do that. All right, what is the standard of examination? Ordinarily, the office will not conduct its own factual investigation into any statements made in a copyright application. However, they could reject it for any reason they deem necessary to reject it by. And there is a provision that says, oh, and you are subject to criminal punishment if you make any false representations in your application. So I then looked into what the punishment was for making such false representations in a copyright application. Get this, guys. You shall be fined not more than $2,500. So why? Let's talk a little bit about intent, and it goes a little bit onto your question. Why would he do this? What is his interest? Why would a person register a copyright in the first place, aside from any marketing or PR scheme that they're up to? Enforcement. You don't need to register a copyright work unless you're ready to enforce it against somebody for infringement. And what do you enforce? You enforce the actual code. You enforce use of the code. And so why would you do that if you're a blockchain, enthusiast or one of the originators of the whole Bitcoin system? It gives you an ability to license software that you create based on the work. So whenever we install an app on our phone or our computer, we have to click I agree. Do you guys know what you're clicking I agree to? That's called an end user software license agreement, a EULA, end user license agreement. And the reason you can do that is because the creators of that code have a copyright to it. And so they're not selling it to you, they're giving it to you for limited usage. So that's why you would register a copyright. So if this isn't just a scheme for him to get publicity, the legal reasons for him to do it are for enforcement or licensing. Of course, he could open source it if he'd like. Now, how do we fight this? What are our legal, options? And, you could, unfortunately, there's no opposition proceeding, but you can contest it in court if you have standing and say you're harmed by this registration in one way or another. But there's another interesting way. You can submit a supplemental registration request and claim that you are a co-author of the work. It's pretty cheap, and again, the Copyright Office doesn't do any validation of their own. So if you guys want to mess around and see who shows up at your doorstep, I would suggest give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. By the way, why was this a U.S. filing if this guy is domiciled in the U.K., but a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda? He's from Australia originally. So why make this a U.S. copyright filing? Something doesn't seem right. All right, that's my legal moment update for you guys.
All right, we'll take one question.
Did not the original Satoshi code that was released have an open source licensing agreement that came with it? So would not that take precedence if people follow that open source licensing agreement? You can change the terms and conditions and have a new license for new uses, but the old license should still be applicable.
I can license your use of anything that I provide to you, but the fact that I have now, there's a federal copyright registration to it, makes it a federal claim if you violate that license. So I don't know what the terms of that license are, but MIT. That's interesting. If he now can go after them or saying you're licensing my code. Again, why would he register it if he didn't want to enforce it? So, good question.
What's the latest news from 2 hours ago? I think it got declined or something. I don't know.
I read the latest news as well just recently, and I didn't read that it was declined. I read it was. What I think that's saying is the U.S. Copyright Office is not going to check or validate or care about it. They just know that it's his registration. So it's up to one of you to become a co-author. Supplemental registration.
So it's like the U.S. Copyright Office doesn't really serve a purpose besides just being there as like a timestamp service on when people maybe lied or told the truth.
And then it's up to us at the courts to validate that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then
Thank you.
$2,500 fine if you.
Yep, $2,500.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, can we give a round of applause for Yuri real quick? Thanks. Okay. So our main presentation, our featured event, coming all the way from California, Trey Griffith. And give yourself a good intro.
Sure. Yeah.
You used to live here. So
Yeah, hi. My name's Trey. Thank you. I'm the founder of Sparkswap. We're building a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange, which is just a way to be able to trade cryptocurrency without having to deposit your assets on an exchange, without having to trust your counterparty, without having to trust us beyond some sort of like basic levels. As Michael mentioned, I actually started this company when I was here in Atlanta in late 2017 and early 2018. Coming to these meetups, there was a few more people that came to these then. There was a very packed room as people were chasing the prices. But since then, moved to San Francisco to build this company. The first thing that I really wanted to talk about was, why I started working on this problem to begin with, why I think it matters, why I think it mattered then, and why I think it matters still today. When I think about, why non-custodial trading matters, I think Andreas Antonopoulos was the first person that said this quote, which is, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. If you don't hold the keys to your cryptocurrency, it's not really yours. And I think there's been a lot of headlines over the past few weeks that kind of drive that point home, that people have lost money or companies have lost money that maybe wasn't theirs. And the sort of latest tally that I saw was that $1.3 billion have been stolen from cryptocurrency exchanges. That's obviously a big problem. That's not the only problem, though. Depending on where your exchange is located, it can also be subject to seizures and having your assets frozen by some local government. And then ultimately, you're kind of at the mercy exchange. I don't know if anyone here has experienced problems getting their money out of an exchange. And at times you can feel like, I wonder what they're doing with my money. I wonder if they're lending it out to somebody that they shouldn't be. And so all that to me comes back to not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And this was my own experience when I was trading. So I think it's something that's really important. And I think especially as the world moves to more and more commerce happening through cryptocurrency, this is going to remain really important. And there are solutions to this problem. This is like, we're not sort of rebuilding the financial system from scratch here. The existing financial system actually has pretty good solutions for a lot of these problems. But basically they come down to trusted relationships between large financial institutions. Those institutions have specific purposes. An institution that's licensed for X can't do Y. And so these kind of norms that we've developed over time and these trusted relationships are enforced by regulation that protect us consumers and the public at large. And as a result, these systems are also heavily siloed in particular countries. And basically, they have to be exclusionary by default. So just as a quick example, pretty much nobody in this room can actually trade on the New York Stock Exchange. It's just not possible. You can trade with your broker, who can then choose whether they want to execute it on the New York Stock Exchange in an alternative trading system or trade it out of their own book. But you personally can't get access. And that's us living in the United States. People in other countries, service providers who want to compete with these big players are basically locked out of the system by design because we have to sort of protect consumers and protect the public at large. And a lot of the new developments in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space that try to solve this problem of theft on exchanges, they look a lot like the old system. And I think there's a better way. And for me, that's non-custodial exchange. So when I think about non-custodial exchange, I think about using this new technology to build a new way to solve this problem. And since we're all here, or many of us are here to help build a new financial system, I think about non-custodial exchange as being an essential piece of infrastructure for building that new financial system. So for me, when I encountered this problem and I looked for solutions that were out there, I was not super thrilled with what existed. And so the question for building any kind of exchange is like, what do you need in order for that exchange to be successful? And I think people, if they've used any non-custodial exchange solutions, you'll know that none of them have really taken off and dominated the way that some of the big centralized exchanges have. This is a quote from Joey Krug at Augur, who said this actually last week in New York, which is, people are always talking about, the UX of cryptocurrency, the UX of blockchain, and he said, the UX of an exchange is liquidity. And I think that's like a perfect quote that sums it up. Ultimately, when you're building an exchange, the thing that you need is liquidity. And specifically, when I say liquidity, what I mean is being able to execute your trade at a good price and being able to execute the entirety of the trade at a price that you deem acceptable. So, problems with liquidity might be a wide spread where the bid and offer are, or the bid and ask are really wide, or there's not good depth where you can trade $5, but if you want to trade $100,000, you're toast. So how do you build good liquidity in an exchange, a non-custodial exchange? I think there's two important characteristics. One is that you support the most liquid assets. And right now, the most liquid asset in cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. It's the highest volume, it's the most valuable, and in my view, it's going to continue to be that way for the foreseeable future. And to support Bitcoin, that means you have to work cross-chain. There's lots of tokens that are issued that represent Bitcoin, but if you want to support Bitcoin and you want to support kind of the reason why people hold Bitcoin, you have to be able to work cross-chain. And the other thing that you need is you need to be able to support professional users, which means you need to be able to have high-performance trading. And I think for most people here, the sort of difference between having your trade happen in 2 seconds versus having it happen in 10 minutes is not much. But for a professional, it's a big deal. And when that happens, it reduces the liquidity in the market. It widens the spread. It reduces the depth. And so you, as sort of a casual user, experience the lack of professional users in a market by having bad prices. And this is the case in a lot of non-custodial exchanges. They basically can't attract professional users because cancellations cost money or all kinds of weird things. And so it's a bunch of casual users trading against each other, but casual users are really bad at providing liquidity to trade against. So to get these two things, as far as I can tell, there's really one technology that gets you both Bitcoin support and high-performance trading, and that is Lightning Network atomic swaps, or more generically, payment channel network atomic swaps. So that's what we've built on. Anyone here familiar with the Lightning Network? Yeah? Okay. Does anybody here know about the specifics of Lightning Network payments and how they work? Okay, a couple people. So I'll do this at like a little bit. Okay, great. So kind of at a high level, the way a payment on the Lightning Network works is you have users that have these payment channels with each other, and a payment channel is just a place where two users can transact with each other very quickly, so they can do it in like a second. Without having to settle it to the global blockchain. And they just transact with each other as many times as they want. And you can chain those transactions together so that user A on the left here can pay user B on the right without trusting the user in the middle. And the way they do that is through what's called a hash time lock contract, but really it's just a conditional payment. So user A makes a conditional payment to the intermediary user that says, I will pay you, I guarantee that I will pay you if you can show me a specific piece of data. And then the intermediary user sends another conditional payment to the user B here and basically makes the same promise. And these promises are unbreakable. It's not like a legal promise, it's like a technological promise, where it's a cryptographic promise, yeah, exactly. Where the intermediary promises to pay user B if they can reveal some secret piece of data. And it's the same piece of data. So when user B reveals that data to the intermediary can guarantee that they're going to get their payment. So as a result, the intermediary doesn't need to trust any of the parties, and neither A nor B need to trust the intermediary. So you have a way to kind of pay, from A to B instantly, within like a second, without having to have trust in the system. A Lightning Network atomic swap works basically the same way. This graph is a little bit more complicated than it really needs to be. But basically, it's the same system where A pays B over the Lightning Network, but this time it's Lightning Network on Bitcoin, and then B pays A on the Lightning Network on Litecoin. But again, it uses the same data for the payment. So these are both conditional payments, unbreakable promises of payment, and then A can reveal the secret data and get the Litecoin, and B can get the Bitcoin. And because this all happens on the Lightning Network, although it's two different Lightning Networks, that doesn't really matter, this whole thing happens in a second, like literally 1 second, 1.1 seconds, something like that, depending on how far away these users are from each other. So what that means is that we now have a system where, and each of these, these payments could actually have a bunch of intermediaries, just like in the last slide. So these two users can trade with each other without trusting each other, without trusting any of their intermediaries, have it support real Bitcoin, and have the whole thing happen in like a second. So that's a really important piece of technology. We didn't invent that. It was, I think, first mentioned in the Lightning Network white paper at the beginning of 2016. Lightning Labs, who's one of the companies that's building the Lightning Network, first did the first demonstration of a Bitcoin Litecoin swap on testnet in November of 2017. That's when I started working on this. I realized this is hugely important for the financial system. L&D went to mainnet in March, and we did our first testnet swap in June, the end of June of 2018. And we did the first ever mainnet swap on Lightning Network between Bitcoin and Litecoin on January 2nd of this year, the day before the white paper, the anniversary of the white paper. You were the first one on mainnet? Yes, yeah, we were the first one on mainnet. Yeah, thank you. And then we released our public beta for Bitcoin Litecoin trading on April 8th of this year. So now people can trade small amounts of Bitcoin and Litecoin with each other, roughly instantly. Takes like 3 seconds. So the kind of description I had for Lightning Network atomic swaps is, and this got a little bit messed up, but if you think about the life cycle of a trade, there's kind of like 3 basic phases. One is counterparty and price discovery, where you have some mechanism to figure out who you're going to trade with and at what price you're going to trade with them. The second phase, which is some binding agreement between the two parties that they're going to execute a particular trade. And then the third is settling, so actually moving the money. So what I just described, that technology of Lightning Network atomic swaps or payment channel network atomic swaps, is really this third one. It's settlement. And that's really, it's a very important one. If you think about the traditional financial world, I think securities went to T+2, which means 2-day settlement, probably like 10 or 15 years ago, and it was like this monumental effort, and everyone was super excited about it. Foreign exchange, I think, is usually like 1-day settlement. We're talking about 1-second settlement. So this is like a really big deal, but it's not the whole story, because we still have to do counterparty and price discovery. We still have to execute the trade somewhere. And so for that, you need a trading venue. And that's really, when I think about what Sparkswap is building, that's really what we're building. The Lightning Network atomic swaps, yes, we've done a lot of work on that, but if I think about what we're building as a business and as a company, we're building a trading venue so that people who want to use this trading method can do that. And the specific method that we use to do that trading is called, to build that trading venue is called a central limit order book. basically what this means is we operate a service that has a single order book that have prices and sizes at which users are willing to transact. For some people that are, very pro decentralization, this is far too centralized for them. The reason why we did this is there's just a lot of good things about a central limit order book. It's low latency, which means the price discovery is very fast. It's well understood. Market manipulation is much easier to avoid when you have a central party that's kind of making sure that everyone's doing what they should be doing. And anyone can make a market. So you're not sort of limited to a small number of people as dealers. There's some cons here, which is, because we're a central party, we can censor transactions. You have to trust us to operate a fair market. A lot of people hate high-frequency trading. High-frequency trading is sort of the name of the game in central limit order book type of situation. The reason why we made this choice is really the choice that faces most blockchain developers, which is, to what extent do you support decentralization and uncensorability, and to what extent do you build a product that works and solves a real problem for people? And where we made the compromise was on giving people custody, so having no way for us to deprive them of their money in any situation, but still trying to provide a good venue for them to trade. And at least today, we think that was the right trade-off to make. Maybe at some point in the future, kind of a less centralized trading venue makes sense, but at least for right now, that's kind of the trade-off that we've made. So just to look at kind of how that system works, this is the relayer, the central service that we operate that I mentioned, and then we make this software called the broker that users run. And so when you want to trade on Sparkswap, what you're actually doing is you're sending a message to the relayer saying, okay, I'd like to place this order. The relayer broadcasts that out to the network, and then some other party, this taker on the left here, sends a message to the relayer saying, okay, I'd like to fill that order. And some messages are exchanged between these two users, and then they finally settle it using that same Lightning Network atomic swap settlement method that I mentioned. That whole thing from beginning to end takes 3 seconds right now. We think we can get it down to about 2 seconds, maybe faster. And that basically puts us in range of the main centralized and custodial exchanges that exist today, which is really our goal. We want it to be that you don't have to choose whether you're going to trade Bitcoin. You don't have to choose whether you're going to have good liquidity or have fast execution, and also have custody. You should be able to have all of those things. So this is just a quick video of our system in action, and unfortunately it's a command line interface right now, but you can see this user on the left has some Bitcoin and wants to get some Litecoin. This user has some Litecoin, wants to get some Bitcoin. And this is just a streaming view of the order book itself. So I'll have this user that we call Monica try to buy some Bitcoin. So they'll try to buy 0.001 Bitcoin at 60 Litecoin per Bitcoin, which used to be the right price. Not anymore, it's like 100 now. And that just goes on the order book basically immediately. So that's the kind of low latency aspect of having a central order book. And then the other user, Chandler, wants to sell their Bitcoin. So they just do a market sell. They'll get matched up with that user. And actually, I'm not like sort of intentionally slowing this down or speeding it up, just sort of as fast as I can type in this command to see how much Bitcoin or Litecoin they've had. The trade has actually already happened. So it's basically as fast as as fast as kind of any centralized exchange or most centralized exchanges that exist. We can't sort of yet compete with something like the New York Stock Exchange, but hopefully eventually we can get there. So the other really challenging thing for building some software like this is what users have to run. Because when you're building, like SaaS, you just run software on behalf of your users and they access it through a website. But when you're building something that really emphasizes decentralization, you're trying to package up a lot of software so that users can have access to it. And sometimes users are very technical, but other times they're not. And so one of the things we've tried to do is package up all this software into a single easy-to-use package, relatively easy-to-use package for users. So they can run Bitcoin full node, Bitcoin Lightning node, Litecoin full node, Litecoin Lightning node, and our software all through running like one script. And it sets it up in like 5 minutes. And that's something that we're pretty excited about, is the work that's gone into that. And kind of the new project that I actually have shown like 6 people in the world is actually building a little piece of hardware that does that for people. So this is one of our users that's running this little device, and I actually have a small device here. Yeah, I wish. There's like 3 of these that exist. So this one I won't raffle away, but eventually this one actually has 3 Litecoin on it, so this is a valuable one. So this little device has everything on it, and it runs Sparkswap, it runs Bitcoin, it runs Litecoin, and the Lightning Network for both of them. And eventually, what we'd like to do is get a device like this to the point where it's roughly as secure as a hardware wallet, roughly as secure as a Trezor or a Ledger or anything else. And you can plug it into your machine and you can trade just like you would on Kraken or Poloniex or any place else. But rather than having to trust them with custody, all the custody sits on this device in your house somewhere. We think that's where we can go. Obviously, we have a long way to go. This software is still very early. But there's still a lot of kind of like interesting challenges left to tackle with it that I really didn't get into here. So my sort of like last shill is to come move to San Francisco and work with us. I lived here and moved to San Francisco. If anyone here is interested in potentially doing that, I'd love to talk to you both. Obviously about working for us, but maybe not also. So yeah, that's it. I'd love to take any questions from folks too if they have them. Yeah.
So right now it's just Litecoin is the only other currency that's on the exchange, and do you plan on onboarding any others, or are there any others getting the Lightning Network soon?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So right now we do support Bitcoin to Litecoin. The reason, there's kind of 2 main reasons. The first is from a technical perspective, Litecoin and Bitcoin are very similar. It's very easy to support both. Litecoin is the only other network that really has a high-functioning Lightning Network right now. The other is Bitcoin and Litecoin is actually a pretty active trading pair as far as crypto to crypto goes. The reason, and the sort of short answer is yes, we will support other currencies. The reason why I say payment channel networks and not the Lightning Network is the way that our architecture is designed. We can support any payment channel network that kind of looks like the Lightning Network. So anything that can support kind of the same conditional payment structure that I mentioned, we can support. It takes a little bit of work, and those payment channel networks need to be mature, and we have to be comfortable putting a lot of money into them. But once they are there, we can support them. So we have plans to support many others, nothing that we're ready to announce right now. But hopefully in the next probably 4 to 6 months, we'll have at least one other currency, and more coming after that. I think for us, it does take longer to support those currencies, but once we do support them, we think the sort of trade-offs once we get there are a lot better.
So this is a kind of YC style question. So is it like you're going to do it for B2C, or you are going to make a box and give it for stock exchanges?
Yes, that's a good question.
What's the long-term thing of it?
Sorry, is the question like who's the user, who's the customer?
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of initially our target is actually more sophisticated users. That's why we have kind of a command line interface. Our main interface right now is actually our API that we expect more sophisticated users to integrate into. We do eventually want to support kind of more everyday users, and this kind of device is the first step in that direction. This is a device that costs $200 to $300, so it's pretty affordable. So we think eventually we can support kind of more casual users as well. But at least initially, the people who are most affected by this are people that have thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, in some cases millions of dollars on these exchanges, for whom an exchange hack or some other event is pretty serious. also people for whom, trading is their business, and if their, money gets tied up for a few weeks or months, that can be catastrophic. So those are really who we're targeting out of the gate. Yeah.
Hey, so everyone at the conferences I go to, somebody's already got a solution on atomic swaps. What would you say are the one or two fundamental differences? I mean, it seems you're the first one I've seen that has a device that it's doing it, but what's the difference between you and other atomic swap providers?
Yeah, so most other people that do atomic swaps do on-chain atomic swaps, which look really structurally similar. So an on-chain atomic swap, it looks basically the same. The difference is that this conditional payment happens on-chain. And so the reason why that matters is in order for party B to send this conditional payment, they have to first be sure that the first conditional payment is confirmed. So let's say the first one is on the Bitcoin blockchain. That might mean waiting for 6 confirmations, which takes an hour if you get it into the first block. So party B waits an hour before even publishing their transaction. So now party B publishes their transaction. Maybe party A is happy to just go ahead and publish the reveal transaction without even waiting for party B's transaction to make it into a block. And so the sort of best case scenario is the transaction takes an hour. So that slowness, because you have kind of the serial nature of these transactions, is both inconvenient, but more importantly, it leads to a market not being able to form effectively. Because when the prices move over the course of an hour, unless this transaction is huge, one of these two parties is going to be incentivized to back out. So let's say before this transaction gets 6 confirmations, the price has moved against B. Well, it's in B's interest to just not publish their transaction. And because this is atomic, there's sort of no penalty for B doing that. And then the same thing happens for A. A actually gets kind of this free option where they can decide to reveal the secret and complete the trade or not after B publishes their transaction. And they could hold that option for quite some time. Now, we have a similar problem. We have a free option problem as well that we're working on. But for us, in most cases, because this whole thing takes about a second, it's sort of in everyone's best interest. Presumably, if 1 second ago you wanted to make the trade, a second from now you're also still going to want to make the trade. So that's really the big difference. Is we think the reason why atomic swaps haven't really been successful in forming markets is this long wait time.
And then the second question would be, it sounds like you're deep into the technological solution. How do you get adoption? What's your business plan for rolling it out, I guess?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, our kind of initial customers are more sophisticated users. We focused a lot more on the kind of supply side of professional traders who are market makers or prop trading firms. So that's really been our focus as of late. But it is true that we will spend more time, probably in a few months from now when we get some more of the infrastructure built out to do things like increase the transaction sizes and add more currencies. We'll spend more time on customer adoption. Right now it's really, it's a beta for sure. The transactions are limited to like $2,000 a day. You can only interact with it via this command line interface or building your own interface. So it really, for us right now, the technology is still kind of the priority in building out that infrastructure. But over the next 4 to 6 months, our focus will shift to both supporting more sophisticated users and then hopefully also more kind of casual and retail users.
We got a question right here. Amen. So for like your more advanced users, do you have any tools for orchestrating all the infrastructure in like a repeatable way to like provision development environments? Yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, so as I kind of alluded to here, so this repository, and there's another kind of related repository. One of the things that we spent a lot of time doing is packaging all this stuff up together. So we run all that stuff through Docker right now. You can run we have instructions for if you want to run your own infrastructure, how to connect it to it. But if you use kind of the default setup, it'll just all the networking is set up for you. The username and passwords. Yeah, Docker Compose. That's right. And yeah, so and actually, this little device uses basically the same setup. We also have a non-production environment. It's basically like a test net. It's like a private test net that we call our reg test environment, where you can, basically open channels in a second rather than waiting like an hour on the Bitcoin mainnet, test out trading strategies, things like that.
So no one asked it. I want to ask it. How do y'all make money? What fee do you charge with the I missed that part.
Yeah, so we make money basically through the operation of the relayer. So we charge fees for using our marketplace. So all of this stuff is open source. So the actual settlement of trades is all open source, and you really don't have to use our software. I mean, you have to use our software. You don't have to use our services to do that, really. But we make money. Well, we don't really make money, but we will make money by using the relayer as a marketplace. So we'll charge fees for that. Our plan right now is 10 basis points, so 0.1% per trade, but that's something we're still working on.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, is this like submarine swaps or?
Oh, great question.
Maybe.
I've got a huge appendix, so I can go all day on these.
I'm sorry if you covered it.
No, I did not. Oh, no, did I not include submarine swaps? Oh, yes, here it is. Okay. So Lightning Loop, has anyone here heard of Lightning Loop?
That's Lightning Labs.
Yes,
product,
wow.
Right?
That's only 2 this time, so I'm really getting down there. Yeah, so Lightning Loop, it's basically a productized version of submarine swaps. Submarine swaps are basically the same concept as what I described, but half of the transaction happens on the Lightning Network, and the other half of the transaction happens on chain. And that's really useful because you can, for example, take money out of your Lightning channel and get it back into your on-chain wallet without having to close a channel. So our architecture is similar, except that rather than this being on-chain and this being Lightning Network off-chain, this is Bitcoin Lightning Network and this is Litecoin Lightning Network. So it's a very similar architecture, but obviously a pretty different use case. Yeah. And also, I would say the other big difference is, at least for Lightning Loop, there's sort of one loop server that is being operated by Lightning Labs to make these trades. And we actually kind of give away this software for users to trade with each other. So, for us, it's like there's many dealers or brokers, not just kind of one on the network.
I just want to keep peppering you with questions.
Yeah.
So in terms of working with the maker, taker, broker, am I opening up channels through those, or can I use existing channels, or maybe I can only use the liquidity in my channels? Maybe you can talk a little bit about what that looks like in terms of a user point of view.
Yeah, so right now, basically to help the network, because particularly the Litecoin Lightning Network is not very mature and can't support high value payments. So we operate the relayer. The relayer's kind of other role that I didn't mention is to operate as kind of a hub on the Lightning Network. So when you use Sparkswap and you want to open channels, the way we have it set up right now is you actually open channels to our Lightning Network node. And that way you can kind of guarantee that you're one hop away from all of the other participants in Sparkswap. Now, it doesn't give us any sort of, we can't take your money or anything, just like a regular Lightning Network payment, but it does make it really easy. When you connect, you know that you're connected to all the other users. The other thing we do is when you open, for example, a Bitcoin Lightning Network channel with us, we'll open a Litecoin Lightning Network channel with you, so that you can guarantee that you have inbound capacity to receive Litecoin, which is a big problem on the Lightning Network.
Is that how you because people are connected through your node? Is that how you charge the 10 basis points, or is there like a way you cryptographically include that in terms of I get paid a little bit every time there's a transfer or something?
So we've experimented with different ways to do that. We one of the reasons we don't make money right now is because, it's there's some decisions to be made there about how we do it. But that is one way we've thought about doing it, is basically charging it as more or less fees for using the hub. Another is, doing it as an invoice that we won't cash until the trade is complete. There's a little bit of a trusted element there, so it's not ideal. But there's a few different ways we've thought about. We haven't kind of decided on that yet.
Oh, she was first, and then Scott. See, I sparked some questions. You like that?
Yeah, actually, I'm backing up to your question. In terms of liquidity, are you providing any liquidity as if somebody else, when a swap is happening, do you need to provide that liquidity to the party, or are you in the future depending on more people having use of the network so that the liquidity can be provided in the network itself, or are you taking that back role and providing that liquidity?
Yeah, it's a good question. So our goal is to operate a marketplace where users trade with each other. But we do take an active role in talking to and recruiting professional users to provide liquidity on the network. We have put some of our own liquidity up, but that's not really our business. Like, that's not what we want to do over the long term or what we plan to do as kind of the way we provide liquidity. We're in conversations with a lot of different market makers to provide liquidity on the network. And that's really the idea is, especially, in the early days, we're going to have to kind of push people into that and kind of recruit them onto the network. But over time, what we hope is that we can just operate a marketplace where, it's attractive enough for market makers to come on board and attractive enough for people who are taking liquidity to come on board as well.
Do you perceive more or less that as you grow that you'd be liquidity centers on the Lightning Network and have major control of the Lightning Network longer term?
Yes, this is actually our secret plan to take control of the Lightning Network. My name is Craig Wright. It's possible. That we're providing liquidity on the Lightning Network as a kind of convenience and user experience, to improve the user experience of Sparkswap users who we kind of hope and anticipate are not actually Lightning Network users. Our goal with Sparkswap is to appeal to not just the people who already know about the Lightning Network, but people who don't care at all about the Lightning Network and just want to trade cryptocurrency and want to be able to trade it quickly without giving up custody. It is possible that we become a hub on the Lightning Network, and maybe that's beneficial for us kind of down the road, but that's not really our goal, and we're not making decisions kind of with that in mind. That's sort of potentially a byproduct.
I understand you're greasing the skids with the bankers basically at this point. Are you also in the process of educating regulators about these things? What's going on there?
I don't know about educating the regulators, but certainly this is an evolving area of regulation. FinCEN just released some new guidance like last week or 2 weeks ago that addressed some of the things that we're doing, which clarifies some of these issues. We have taken traditionally a more conservative approach than other people when it comes to the regulators. But it's something we're continuing to look at and make sure that we're kind of operating within the bounds of the regulation that's out there that we know about. I would say the kind of main thing is we're based in the U.S. We want to serve U.S. customers. We think that the U.S. is a really big and important market, and so we're kind of willing to go through some of the regulatory pain to make that happen, just because we do think it's a really important market, and I like living here.
Yeah, so do you need the hardware to actually use Sparkswap?
No, you don't. So we actually have instructions online. Our kind of main install path is actually for people on their own machine to download and install it. I mean, that's this little install script. Yeah. So this little install script is meant to be run on a machine that has at least 340 gigabytes on your hard drive available. We also have instructions for running it on the cloud if you want to run it on AWS or DigitalOcean. The device is really for people who are not comfortable with that. They want to have it on their own dedicated hardware, but don't want to go out and buy a laptop. I think in particular when you're talking about custody of assets, it's important. The security aspect of it is important, and so dedicated hardware is pretty important for these things, especially if it's a lot of money. So this is our kind of first attempt at dedicated hardware for kind of a more retail audience. We do also want to make, or in partnership with some other folks, make devices that are perhaps appropriate for bigger traders as well. So kind of more high performance. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the question was, does it have a hardware wallet built in? No. The kind of challenge when you're talking about the Lightning Network is it's really kind of a hot wallet, or at least like a very warm wallet. And so, there's sort of different security measures that you take. It's not kind of the same security approach, but dedicated hardware is like a good first step, we think. Locking down kind of access to that device. So, for example, that device only has like 3 ports open that have, that are all sort of authenticated. We think that's a good step as well, and something that we're, working on and would like to do is actually, put this on a platform where even if you have access to the device, you can't extract key material. So that's maybe a little bit further down the road, not with sort of this version, but eventually we'd like to get there. So it won't be a Trezor, but we think we can get sort of similar security and obviously kind of much better assurances than what you get from sending it to some random exchange.
All right. Well, hey Trey, that was awesome. Are you going to be at Twin Peaks?
I will be at Twin Peaks.
Okay,
yeah.
so if you want to ask him more personal questions, we'll be at Twin Peaks. Round of applause. So we'll just be wrapping up. There is one thing. Who here knows Rika? Rika used to be a longtime Tab supporter, and she used to help run this thing. She's in California now. She actually had a request. Let me read it out because she is giving away free stuff, and you have to do something. And totally shilling for her right now. Rika, who was previously working with me on Tab, now lives in San Francisco and is a product manager at MyCrypto. MyCrypto is Taylor Mohanan from MyEther's Wallet's latest company. Rika's looking for volunteers to participate in a 30-minute interview to learn more about how you use crypto. So I guess she's doing some customer discovery. You'll get MyCrypto swag in return, plus Rika is awesome. And I'm sure you'll love talking to her. Reach out to her via email if you're interested. Let me give you her email. It's Rika, R-I-K-A Suknik6, SUKENIK6 @gmail.com. So if you need that email again, just come out to me, rika.suknik6 @gmail.com. Anyway, so she's been a real long-term supporter, and she wasn't able to make it today. But all right, last but not least, we're doing the raffle with Protecting Coin. So here it is. Lucky, someone's going to get lucky.
Hey everybody, Chris from Protecting Coin. We do security around cryptocurrency, so hardware wallets, cold storage, consulting, etc. So you can check out all our products back there, check out our site. We are going to do a couple giveaways. So the giveaways we're going to do is, first we're going to do an Ethereum cold storage coin. So this is actually a limited edition one from Token Fest, if anyone knows Token Fest from 2018. There's only 1,000 of these that have been minted. And so it's actually an Ethereum wallet, but it is branded for Token Fest. All right. For this, we've got 215-8991. 91. We got a winner? All right. Come on up. I'm not coming to you. You're getting the free stuff. You got to come to me. We got to verify. There you go. Congratulations. All right. Next thing we're going to be giving away is a crypto vault. This is our titanium storage for your recovery seed. And this is what it actually looks like. And you etch in your recovery seed so it protects it from fire, water, etc. What is it? Yes, lava. If anyone knows Jameson Lopp, he's pretty big in the Bitcoin community. He actually just published a stress test, and our device was included in that. So the test that he did is he put it under fire over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Average house fire is around 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. I wasn't too worried about that one because we actually tested this up closer to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit on our own working with a blacksmith and survived just fine. We actually have that very plate in the back. He also dunked it in acid for 12 hours. So if you have a concern about acid, this might be an option for you. So just make sure you do a good etching on it, and it will survive 12 hours of acid with a good etching. And the last test he did is he hit it with a 20-ton, that's 40,000 pounds of pressure, hit it with a 40,000-pound press to see if he could bend it in half. So feel free to go, if you go on Medium, if you look up Jameson Lopp, you can read that report, look at all the scores. Our overall score with that independent test was an A-, just because of an etching issue not being deep enough when he did it, but the rest of them held up. So a very good score, and ours is under $35 for a set of plates and a serialized lock, and some of the competitors are well over $200. So a very good deal. So, all right, thank you. But someone's going to be winning one. Are you worried about your storage after that test? That sounds like a personal issue. So, all right, let's see. We got 215-8990. All right, we got it there. All right, congratulations. All right, that does it for me. Check us out in the back. Also, check out our site. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys, just a reminder, we're going to Twin Peaks. That is literally right next door. Second floor, we have the whole place to ourselves. If you want to continue a network, we do have to get out of here pretty shortly. So if you want to do additional networking, Twin Peaks, second floor, right next door, and I'll be there too. Thank you so much, everybody. Make sure to pick up the garbage around your chair. Pick up the garbage around your neighbor's chair too, because they probably won't do it.